seconds early, but it's better early than never, or later, something like that. Now, I thought I would start at this time, so people that are going to play in this on the West Coast will be at least a reasonable time. So, the regular stream will be in this slot on Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 o'clock West Coast. That way we're at least a little bit fair to everyone. Hello, I'll get Chad up here in just a second. I think that's Pindar. I can't quite read unless I do this. No, it's Smelly. Hello, Smelly. Yes, you're the reason why I made it at 9 rather than 8. So it was at a much more convenient time for ye. Now, I hope that you've thought of some kind of super person. It's been so long since I used this thing. Okay. Alright, there we go. Now can I get my screen back? Thank you for giving me my screen back. This thing hardly works. So you kind of got to wait and coax it through until it decides to do its thing. What's Smelly right now is me and you. And since it is just me and you, I'm going to turn on that fan because in reality, I thought it would be a little bit cooler by now, which was another thing for me thinking about 9 o'clock. That way it won't be as hot. Sometime this does an update, so well, Smelly, we are going to, on this channel as a part of regular content, we are going to play Champions, the super role-playing game, the first version. And I will use the other rules with it too, but as extended, like I did learn how to play because I started playing the game from its inception. So, we're going to have a world of superheroes and supervillains. And we are going to create our own super universe. And those that wish to play get to create characters. And after we create all the characters, and I talk a little with each other, so it'll take us a few weeks to get the game together. Then we're going to get together on Saturday nights in this block, and you're going to get to play your characters, and we're going to have fun. Actually, Smelly, it's damn simple. This is one reason why we're starting with this. And then sometimes at the first of the year, we're going to start in some original Dungeons and Dragons. But we're still going to play both games. It's just, after so many months of the same thing, we'll have a occasional different thing to where you will take your characters on adventures. So this will be a different way of having fun. Now, when I created this channel, I had this in mind, but as you remember, they upped the subs to 1,000 to live stream. But now that they've changed that, and I always thought I would start doing it when COVID was over, so here we are. And Pindar likes to game, and she'll be over here in a little bit, and Rachel is going to make a character too. So, if you wish to play, which, I always thought when I started this that you would want to play, but I don't get to speak for you. I'm about to get Richella attacked. What are you doing, Richella? Okay, gotta sit that down. Gotta get Richella attacked as people come in. But yes, you need to come up with your own super character. Now, the interesting thing is whatever you think of, I can create. And there's no dice rolling involved in character creation. And that's kind of special in this game, because you actually get what you want. Now, you might have to eventually grow into the power level that you want with experience points, but you can actually get what you want. And of course, the characters are going to start out low powered and getting kittied all over me. And somehow I wouldn't doubt if you want some sort of kitty powers, but who knows? Hello, Leonard. We're going to talk about characters and super people, and so we'll also talk about some of my stories, because my cat's destroying everything. Richella, honey, what are you doing? You nutburger. Unfortunately, I have to put the fan on. It's gotten kind of warm in here this evening. Okay, that's pretty easy. Now, the interesting thing, as a part of the character creation, everyone's going to have a nemesis. So, I might have yours already wrote up. Well, see, that's one thing that I intend on doing this with this super universe. You know, many of the crimes are going to, on the low level, are going to be more real. Just put it that way. So your vision will work quite fine. And I know Rachel, she wanted someone with light powers. And Pindar hasn't worked yet. So you would end up a close stealth person. You know, with definitely martial arts. Definitely going to have claws. And then, of course, you'll have acrobatics, stealth, concealment, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that's a really simple write-up, really. I mean, it'll be no problem. You'll also have super leap. You'll also have break fall, so, you know, you can fall long distances. You know, I can do every power that a cat has. Now, the thing is you pay your powers with disadvantages. So, like one of your disadvantages would be a public identity, because you're just not going to fit in. And another one would be distinctive features, because you're a female cat-human hybrid. So, you know, and these are things that help pay for your powers in the game. And the other thing is to play this game, you only need 3 6-sided dice. So once after a while you guys learn the game, you can actually then play this in your own life because you will understand the basic rules. They might seem arcane at first, but after you kind of understand them, it gets fairly simple. And we're just kind of waiting on Pindar to show up and Rachel. Now, I messaged with Pindar just a little while ago, and she should be coming in. But, you know, we can have more than 3 players. In fact, it would probably be ideal with 4 or 5. Probably better 4 than 5. Just saying. So, you know, we'll see who else wants to. And then, of course, other players can come in the game later. And I can also run side games. Like, say, one thing that I was thinking about when we create the characters, I can come on here and simply you and me just come hang out and we work on your character a little bit. You know, your side adventures. You know, Batman wasn't with the crew all the time. And, Smelly, I just gave you a wrench. Because you know how the YouTube editor is? Because see, this whole week I've been planning this out on how to do this. So, hello Nicolina, how are you today? I figured you'd actually be kind of busy. But we're going to be silly on this channel. There's no drama. There's no bullshit. We are going to have fun. I will tell stories on this channel. I will talk about the books and stories I've wrote. And we're also going to play Champions. And Champions I'm going to make fun. Basically, it's superheroes and supervillains. And Pindar's going to be a superhero, and Rachel and Smelly Cat. Well, you know, that way you can take care of things. And I figure on most Saturday nights you will be busy. But, you know, that way when you come by, you know, you can watch on things. And if you ever want to, you're more than welcome to play yourself. You know, some people are going to not... I want a core of regular players, but, you know, if there's just somebody that rarely stops by for a guest visit, that would be good too. Now, just for fun, for the last few hours, I have been writing up characters for this. And I was going to keep this a secret, but I wrote up one super villain that plays a superhero, and his name is Lightning Tiger, and you can guess what his secret identity is. Okay, Pindar, type something. I want to see if your wrench took. Because all my players get wrenches. Because you know how YouTube is with stopping people's speech? Okay, well that's good. Because yeah, because for logistics, the players are always going to get wrenches. And Nicolina, because she deserves one, and the reality of the matter is, the way that I foresee things, after a few months, she's going to see how much fun we're going to have and is going to want to get in on it. So I might as well hit the button and give her a wrench now. Yes, Brainworms. Hella is a wildcat. She had kittens. And they hung out in this room. And to give her a good spot, I went to the dresser and I pulled out the bottom drawer and I set it up on a block like this and made it where she could get inside the dresser. And during this live, she is moving her baby somewhere else. She's already taken 2 out, and there's a baby over there waiting on mommy to come back for it. So until mommy comes back for the baby and takes it somewhere else, we're going to hear a baby. I don't know. The mom's a wildcat, and if I get over there, she's going to eat me the hell up. So, you know, I just do my thing over here, and, you know, the old do no harm. I'll help what I can, and, you know, the rest is kind of up to nature, because unfortunately we can't save everything in the world, but it does look like she's got 3 fine kittens. Hello, Celestial. Oh, they're older than that. Pindar, we're going to have to start at a lower power level, but literally I can create anything. Now, Pindar, this concept will knock you out. There is no dice rolling in character creation. You have points, and then you pay for your points with disadvantages, and the disadvantages help make your character distinct. Like, for example, Melton John has enraged 14 or less, recover 8 or less if misgendered. And the enraged disadvantage means that if someone engages your disadvantage and the roll happens, you lose control and you attack them. That's enraged. Now, Berserk is worth a little more, and Berserk means you would attack anyone. So yes, so we're going to start out with the original recommended 250 points a character, which is kind of low. But since no one understands the system right now and I don't have a veteran player, we're going to start out as the original rules suggest at a 250 point start cap, and then as you gain experience points, you spend them for more powers. And you can also spend experience points to buy off disadvantages. Well, actually, you remember we talked about disadvantages? Yes. You know, we can give you a berserk affected by catnip. And it's a common item. And once again, that would literally be your kryptonite. You know, in one campaign, one character was susceptible to mind control. So every character that had mind control, the first thing that he would do is turn that character against the group if he knew anything about the group. Which usually about the 3rd or the 4th encounter, the villain starts to get an idea of what buttons can be pushed where. Hello, Heather. But yes, it's a fun game, and we used to play it on Sundays, a whole bunch of us. And after about 6 months of playing this, I am going to open up playing super villains. And playing super villain is much harder. The game is not designed for it, but I played it long enough to where you can. And it requires a veteran player because 95% of the time you're going to lose. You know, I've been I had like probably 24 players in Cincinnati, and then there was times that I'd have to take Troy out of the room, and it's like, dude, these guys are not stopping you, and I really can't let you conquer the world. See, there's occasionally those kind of player conversations that sometimes have to be had with the supervillain player, because the whole point of the game is for entertainment and not ego. Well, you can, and now everyone will think you're strange, but eventually it will catch on. An example. One of my players that came in that eventually became a veteran player, he had a lich. He could never think of a name. So over 2 game periods of not being able to figure out a name, he just called it Cold Finger. And eventually it caught on. The lich's name was Cold Finger, because he had a very cold finger. I know, it was absolutely stupid, but it wasn't my idea. And like I said, I had my own multiverse. Now, I am going to let you guys in on a secret. Our games will tie in with my book universe. Now, you see, remember I said my book's going to be in 3 volumes? Well, in my book that's sitting over there, they create a magical device, a time portal. Now, the evil people that are creating this time portal are supposed to be making something else. So when my characters go back to them and say, where is our device to save the world with? They find out they have an escape route, and they do not have what they expected to save the day. So, of course, my characters are not happy. So that kind of factors out in the first book. But in the 3rd book, that's a difference. Now, I've already told about my 2nd book. I bait and switch the villain. So one of my heroes in the 1st book becomes a villain, Mangrel. Well, in the 3rd book, Mangrel will confront his father, because you always have to have the adopted son confront the father. Well, as we know, my hero is a female elf, and she is going to confront him and throw Mangrel through the time portal. And he is going to come out in our day, and further along in the campaign, when you're powerful heroes, he is going to be a supervillain. Well, yeah, Nicolina, I kind of thought that you might, but, that's why I say, at some point I figure you will want to jump in and have fun. Now, once again, we're going to create our own universe. Now, there's a few things that's always universal. Like earlier today, I wrote up a mob boss, because every single super universe has to have its own mob boss. And like I said, I made Ernie a supervillain that with not many powers that is pretending to be a superhero. And he will be one of your annoyances. And at some point, one of you are going to splatter him. Just saying. I'm just predicting it. The question is who? But in reality, if there was superheroes and supervillains in the world, Ernie would try to grift them. Like when I first heard about Ernie in the wrestler grift, I'm like, they could pop your head off if they really wanted to. But they sued you. I mean, I would have popped his head off personally, over money, because, I was a supervillain. Well, concerned citizen, yes. But it's easier and funner. And it only requires 3 6-sided dice. Now, once again, someone has to run this. They have to see it for a while. But in reality, the formulas are very simple. I have it all memorized in my head. I don't need any form of a book. And after a while, my players will be able to play this at home themselves. Because once again, it only takes 3 6-sided dice. And some very simple formula. Now, the characters are a little bit intimidating in the beginning, But once you understand the basic formulas, it all makes sense, and the long part is the writing. And I don't have no idea what Pindar wants. Oh yeah, it's very easy, Nicolina. Empathy. The hard part in the universe is always the super name. I mean, throughout all of the years, your super name is always the hardest thing. Oh yeah, it's pretty simple, because in reality, it's mind control powers with just basically a limitation on them, emotion only, and then like a personal skill, persuasion, seduction. Those would also be really good skills for an empath. Yeah, like I say, that's really easy. Yeah, like I say, that's no problem. Because that's kind of because I thought I would play a helpful person as an NPC, and I didn't decide anything for me because I wanted to look at what everyone else came with and then see if there's a open spot, a spot or a power that would really help everyone together. Hello, Callie. Well, actually, Pindar, now Rachel, she wanted light powers. So you're kind of out a tank at the moment. So that will probably be the void I fill. Like I said, I wanted to wait until you guys picked your power and see if there was anything glaring that was needed. So yes, you have a mental person. You have, your agile, stealthy, upfront and fighter. That would be Smelly Cat. And then, like I say, Nicolina, like that too, you could also add telepathy. Because telepathy, once again, you could read their thoughts, to further allow you to manipulate them. Well, we're going to start with about 4 characters in the start. Now, once again, I can run multiple sessions a week. It doesn't always have to be just now, but this one's going to be the one that's set in stone. Well, Callie, we're talking about creating characters. And here later on in the live, we're going to make up a character or two that we've been talking about. Hello, Rachel. And she's going to be our light person. And like I said, you guys have come up with some really good concepts, and fortunately, they're all very easy to do. Now, don't have it in a book right here, but in one of the character creations that they came up with, they did a version of Superman, but a female supervillain. And we're starting off with like 250 point characters, but that's like a 1100 point character, which is unbelievably powerful. That's what we would consider super master villain. Your Doctor Dooms, your Thanos, those guys would be on those point scales. So, we'll start that now. Once again, names is the hardest thing. And once again, at some point, we'll be banding everyone together as a team. And team names are also hard. I mean, your super name is always hard, but your team name is always harder. Because I know from experience, it always isn't what you hope for. Because you always think about coming up with the perfect thing, and it didn't happen. Now, it could. I mean, it could. Well, if there's this much interest, I can run two sessions. Because we're getting ready to have longer nights and me a lot more time. So yeah, I could do a prime time, like say a Wednesday or something like that, or a time that would be better for the individual players for a second session. But yes, I'm going to have to try to work everyone in one at a time. But in reality, I could probably, after everyone understands the system, I could probably do 7 players. Once everyone understands what their characters do and how this works. Because you do combat without initiative. It's by your speed and your dexterity. And you do it by phases, 1 through 12. And that's your combat round. So many of us are going to be speed 4, and they go on 3, 6, 9, and 12. Where someone with a speed 6 goes half of the phases, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And there's a simple little chart for that. So, I guess I'll be making a typical brick, since there's no extra strong person. So, I mean, this will be interesting. I'm not sure what it'll be. Now, I don't want to just recycle my old themes, but I'm kind of tempted. But I'm not in this case. Because, Rachel's going to have light powers. And this guy was a brick with light powers, so I won't do that. Now, okay, I think I have an idea. Now, the other thing that you have to come out with is an origin. How did you get your superpowers? Now, another interesting thing that when you guys are veterans players, I have a supplement called the Golden Age of Champions, where you can literally replay World War II with a Captain America style theme of, you making yourself superheroes. And I literally have all the major events of World War II. I mean, write-ups for all the weapons of World War II. And events, like over here we have calendar events, period events, 1936, June 18th, the Spanish Civil War begins. So, this is probably like in the far future to come, at some point this will be a diversion. Well, Nicolina, you get experience points, and then you spend these points on your character, and you can buy off disadvantages. And you can also just add points to a character or whole new points or whole new powers. And sometimes someone will save up a ton of points and have like a transformation of the character, kind of like Jean Grey in the Phoenix. So, every game session you'll get about 3 to 5 points a week, but in reality, 5 points can be turned into 5 points of strength, which is 1 die damage of attack. So, you can get your character powered up pretty quick. Now, of course, you've picked the mental route. And now, also, they have powers like mental illusions. Now, since you also picked an emotional power, you could also use this to make people see what they want emotionally. Like I said, there's a lot of ways that you could expand the power set that you're thinking of. Now, for an example, like Rachel, she wants to have light powers. Now, one of the cool things with her having light powers, now she probably won't be able to afford it now, but at some point she could turn into light. And that's an intangibility power. So, if your big mega villain's coming to smack you, you can turn intangible, and all of a sudden, nah, 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 nah. It don't matter if he's Mr. 1200 points or not. If he doesn't have the advantage of effect to solid objects, you can just stand there and laugh at him. So like I say, there's different ways that you can take these powers. And like I say, everyone will enjoy it, but it'll take a few weeks to get everything together. And today I wanted to go through an overview of how this kind of works and create a couple characters. And like I say, I can run a game stream on different times to get this together for different players because I really had no idea what the interest is going to be. So I'm going to try to work in everyone that I can. And we're going to have some fun. But, once again, like in MCU, you have to introduce one at a time. That's kind of where we're sitting at now, and we hope to do that. And I've created for you some heroes and some villains. Well, the one hero I created is a villain, Ernie. I mean, but he's very low powered and very easy to smear. Now, you can die. Tell you right now, your character can get killed. Now, your goal, of course, is not to be killed, and my goal is not to kill you. But, of course, stupid decisions, once again, you can win stupid prizes. You know, just like real life. Hello, Katie. Now, another interesting optional rule that we will take. You can spend 4 of your experience points and get what's called an extra life. You know how in superheroes and it's like it was originally made for supervillains, because you know how the supervillain will keep dying and come back. Now, these points, when you spend them for an extra life, are gone forever, but it gives your character an easy comeback. It's just then I have to think of a plausible reason on how your character came back. So, you know, that's a little idiosyncrasy, and I wanted you to know that now is you can die, but you know, you spend just 4 simple points, and typically on the night's adventure here, you'll get about 3 to 5 points. So, you know, it's not like it's hard to come up with, you know, and being a new player, you might want to think about it. Now, sections also, it wasn't too bad in here, but as the night's going on, it's just getting hotter. I didn't want to leave that fan on. Is this fan okay for you guys? Because I've just been turning it off because I don't want to drown it out. Well, I've not watched all of her powers, so, you know, we'll come up with the power set that you want. Okay, good. Because it really does help me. Because it's hot in here. And usually I sit with this shirt off, as you noticed on Nicolina's live, because it's just a little more comfortable. I was also expecting to be attacked from the side. Now, I ran them out of here right before the live started, because Summer and Richella were going to get heavily in the way, because that's what they do. Now, look, I've got some game supplements. What did I do with them? Now, to give you a little flavor, I wanted to give you some examples. Now, this is the very first book they created with supervillains in it. And every supervillain has its stats, it has its origin story, and all of them have their cute stories. Now, some of them are ignorant, just saying, because that is the nature sometime, but actually, I gotta say, this book, the first one, probably had the worst origin stories. I really do. Now, once again, we're not going to be too much of a sticklers. Whatever you decide is your origin is your origin. Now, depending on what you pick, there might be background characters that I create that involve your origin. You know, if someone was an alien, you know, then I have to come up with some aliens. You know, if someone's, you know, a mutant, I have to come up with a mutant theme. Now, this character is called Sunburst. And it said, Randall McFadden was one of the guinea pigs at Project Sunburst. The project was the Army's attempt to create a radiation suit that would allow soldiers to fight a nuclear war, not hide from one. Predictably, the Army blew it. The survivors were brought to a hospital to await testing. Randall recovered faster than most, than his fellow, quote, volunteers. When he found that he had strange powers, Randall figured others had been similarly transformed. He used his powers to break out of the hospital, escaping with a deformed man that he called Ray. Now Sunburst and Ray, along with Armadillo, hide their evil deeds behind legitimate business front in the giant Great Northwest Shipping and Transport Corporation. They have eliminated the local competition, and with Sunburst as leader, they strive for more power. And he has light powers. Now, I'm not going to use their guys, but I might make knockoff versions of them for some background waster villains. And he is a much more powerful light wielder. He's like built on 421 points. Now, he had to pay for his powers with disadvantages. And one of his is he takes 1.5 times stun from physical attacks. he takes 2 dice 6 from intensified dark fields. Now he's got a psychological disadvantage, megalomania. Now, that means he's going to be a total asshole. So, he's got the whole Hitler thing going for him. Now, he's also overconfident. And, that's a typical thing that many megalomaniacs do, and which usually lead to their downfall despite how many points they have. And then he is hunted by an international agency. He's hunted by the FBI. He has a secret identity, and they gave him 171 villain bonus to reflect, that he's been out there a while and a menace to the world. So, that just kind of gives you a flavor example of what we're going to be doing in some of the things that we're going to create. Now, I have in some of my books over here, I had a team that I'm going to use. Now, once again, I said there's certain universal themes. Now, the Zodiac is always a theme for superheroes and supervillains. So what I have done is I've created the Chinese Zodiac. So that way our Zodiac is going to be a little different, and they're going to be Chinese agents. Now, in a game, we have to have a campaign setting. So I was thinking that we will create a fictional city. Because at first I thought about making it, because in my old game, I made real world settings. But in this case, and because of terms of service, I thought we'll create our own version of a metropolis or a Gotham. Now, I had a couple ideas for possible names, but once again, if the players can come up with a name that they want right here now for our campaign city, I'll go with it and be extremely happy. Modern day Smelly. So this way your character can play modern events. There is a war going on in Ukraine. Just saying. So, modern events will parallel. Now, there'll also be fantasy events. But yes, in our typical game universe, what happens in the modern world is going to happen in the game universe. Now, you can affect how that happens, just saying. Now, once again, time travel and dimension altering are possibilities. That's another one of the reasons why I showed you the little World War II thing. Now, once again, the main object is for us all to have fun. And that's typically what we'll do, and maybe YouTube won't ban us for having fun. Now, Bob and Lori, they might ban us for having fun. Now, they're going to be upset that we're having fun, but we are not going to tell them. Oh, Rachel, that's a good thought, is, your ideal location. Now, typically, as, running the game, I'll have to have water somewhere. So, there'll be either a lake or you'll be on a coast. Because, you got to have some kind of super water people, and super water people in the desert tend not to do well. Seriously. Now, they're really popular when they can make water, but it tends to hit all of their disadvantages. One thing I forgot. Now, Rachel, type something, please. All the players get wrenches. Because you know how YouTube censors? Because I thought about it this week. Because, all my players have to have wrenches. Okay, so there it is. So, okay, all of my players right now have wrenches. And like I said, I'll work everyone in that wants to play as best I can over time. It's just, I expected about half as much interest. But, I can make it work. Now, the other thing, too, is, you can always be competitive to each other. That, like Smelly right here, she wanted to be more of a loner, a little more of a neutral. So, that will give you role-playing aspects, because your characters can be assholes. I mean, your personality is completely up to you. Now, the other interesting thing is you can take these personality quirks and turn them into psychological disadvantages to pay for your character. So this is why with character creation, you can actually make your character how you want and get points for it. So, once again, if Smelly wants to have like antisocial as a psychological disadvantage, there might be some times that she just kind of blows you guys off and does your own thing. Like, as an example, once again, cats are very fickle. Now, the thing is like this, to overcome your psychological disadvantage, you have to make an ego roll. So once again, if she was to pick antisocial, and you'll usually have to persuade her to go on an adventure, which once again, if she'd make her ego roll, since she can overcome her disadvantage and then do the act. Like Batman, he has code versus killing. He's hardwired that way. That is one of Batman's psychological disadvantages. Now, once again, if he accidentally kills Two-Face, Batman takes 3 6-sided dice, and if he makes his ego roll, he can get over it. Now, unfortunately, he's going to have one of these character problems if he doesn't. Because then he's violated my one rule. You remember how, characters get now and then psychologically? And this is how I'm trying to explain that, you can take how you want your character to be and work it into your disadvantages to pay for your character. Well, like I say, you can have many kitty disadvantages, but once again, you have to think on how you want the character. I was just using these as an example. You might be an over-loving kitty. You might be antisocial, but you might love one of the other characters so much, you're like their kitty. Like I say, there's many ways that you can play these things. That mommy kitty has come back in for the other kitten. She made noise, so I'm going to lower my voice here for a little bit and let her do her thing. Well, you can have characters with tunneling, depending on the power sets, because there's typical movement skills like flight, teleportation. Now, because I knew Rachel wanted a light character, I already created her nemesis. And what did I, yeah, Darkheart. And that character has dark powers. So that way, Rachel, I've already created her nemesis because I knew she wanted light powers. And once again, that character is going to hate her because she's vulnerable to light. That's one of that character's disadvantages. Well, hello, Rachel. Welcome back. Well, I just revealed your nemesis while you were gone. I created a dark character with dark powers to be your evil counterpart. Well, because of the way YouTube does, my players need wrenches. And that's why I'm going to bring people in as trusted, to play and, like I say, expand the game over time, because this is basically a reborn channel and we're just here to have fun. This is all something else. I'll work in some of our locales as supervillains. Just for fun. I'll put little hidden things in. And to let you guys know, a little while ago, I wrote up Grimgoth as a champion's character. So, just to let my characters know, you will fight Grimgoth at some point. I also wrote up Alfarius Cade. And he is going to be Grimgoth's partner, just like he is in my made-up mythos. But once again, depending on each of your characters, I'm going to create you a nemesis. Now, Smelly over here, I will create a dog person. I don't have the name yet, but, because see, this way, in reality, you'll kind of have Smelly, a.k.a. something like Wolverine, in reality, when you look at her all together. And then you're going to have a dog character that, well, like I say, some of them are going to be fun. Well, you see, where I have the Chinese zodiac, they're animal people. And one of them is a dog. And one of them's a cat. So once again, those will be special people that will... Well, the dog will try to chase you, just saying. Now, of course, you're probably going to lay his nose open, also just saying. But, like I say, the fun part is going to be to have fun. And once again, I'll throw in certain things. Now, as a game person, see, this is another thing I wanted to do, because now that I know all your powers, I can create scenarios for you. Like, Nicolina wanted a person that can control emotions. Well, you know what would be interesting for me to do is a part of her character, give her a love interest. Because once more, she's an emotional controller. So once again, as a part of that character's life and secret identity, the love interest would be interesting. And maybe it's a hero, maybe it's a villain, maybe it's just some poor guy from down the street that she has to keep from getting mashed every Tuesday. Because on disadvantages, another disadvantage is a dependent non-player character. Like Superman. Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen were dependent NPCs. Now, Robin was a sidekick, but Alfred, he was a dependent NPC. And once again, you can take parts of your own story and use them to create your disadvantages, so that way your character is exactly what you want. And then, of course, your dependent NPC has a dice roll of getting involved in any night's adventures. Yes, Brainworm. So yes. So you got the idea. And Aunt May. Those were dependent NPCs of Spider-Man. Betty Brant. That was the Hulks. Or Betty Ross. And I forgot, it depended on which. No, Betty Brant was Spider-Man too. Yeah, hell, Spider-Man, he got a lot of dependents. Yeah, and it was Betty Ross that was the Hulk. Well, she'll put him straight. But I mean, that's what Jimbo does. He's not much of a man, and I did kind of find funny his empty threats that he's going to call CPS on her. I did get a good laugh at it, and I know she got a good laugh at it. But I know one thing. Jimbo is seething. Yes. And that is Jimbo's superpower. He can seethe. Now, it really don't do him any good. No, it don't. Matter of fact, Jimbo's a character made on about 75 points. Now, an average human being is built on 100 points. To kind of give you a... Because you get 100 points free. Say yay! So that means, like, for a 250-point character, you have to come up with 150 disadvantages because you get the first 100 points free. Well, like I say, we will think of it. Now, once again, simple to remember is important. When you're talking about it. Now, one time I had a campaign city called Silver City. Oh, yeah. Well, she'll catch him. Now, I did think it was funny. After we quit, old Velma said something horrible about Nicolina, and then apologized, and I mean, it was just psycho. And now today, Jimbo's the Slim Jim of Wrath. Well, take care, concerned citizen. Well, you're welcome too. Now, I'll probably have to work you into what I talked about the second session, but once I develop the everyone's characters and the backgrounds, it'll be real easy for me to bring people in over time. So you'll want to think of a superpower in a super name. And because we'll be adding you in, We might add some extra parts of the story. Now, see, that's another thing, too. Using like Instagram or Twitter, we can DM behind the scenes, and you guys can tell me secret stuff that you want to do. You know, like things that you don't want the other players to know. So that will also be a factor. Yeah, Rodney, that'll be cool. That'll be cool for everybody. Because, you know, we're literally creating a version of the MCU. Now, there's a lot more interest than I had expected, but, you know, over time, I will work everybody in that still wants to play. And, like I say, I'll probably end up having to do 2 streams a week. So, I'm going to probably do that on a Wednesday. This is a guess. It might not end up on a Wednesday. But right now, tentatively, look for me again Wednesday on this channel in the evening. And once again, now, another thing, too, if any of us are, like, up at an odd hour and want to play, like, a solo adventure, you know, I can be DM'd, and if, you know, I can get a device charged up, and you can have solo adventures. Excuse me. So it doesn't always have to be a group. You know, if you want to work on one of your characters, you can get with me. And then we can set up a time, and you can have solo one-on-one adventures with Batsema. What are you doing, Batsema? Yeah. Oh, you're yelling me. Oh, who's yelling me? You're incredibly hot. I love you, too. Well, that's an interesting concern. Yes, it's very interesting. Now, that's kind of cool because I don't have a magic person. Because that was kind of what I was originally thinking about. And to be honest, you are going to hate Grimgoth. I mean, you are really going to hate him. Because there is, like for your cosmic style characters or your magic users, they have something called a multi-vary power pool. And it basically allows him, if he can make his skill roll, he can switch his powers to virtually anything he wants through magic. And that concerned citizen is how we're probably going to build your character, because it's the most efficient for points. You know, rather than buy individual powers, you know, because of the great variance of magic, we will buy it as a pool that's a multi-vary. And then you have to make a skill roll every time you want to do something different. But, like I say, it's as the maximum versatile, and you're going to hate Grimgoth. You're really going to hate him. Now, in reality, he's only a few more points than you are. So, you know, he's not going to be anything, you know, that's going to be Doctor Doom. Now, Alpharius Kane, on the other hand, he's got the points of a serious supervillain. That's why I'm kind of gauging that the two of them together will make a little fun fight for your team. It's just, poor old Alpharius. Remember I talk about psychological disadvantages? Now, the thing is, if you repeat disadvantages, they get less points over time. So it's like 2 psychological disadvantages are worth 20 points each. The next 2, 15. The next 2, 10. The next 10, only 5. Then 3, and then 1. So by the time you get in, it's like if you were to try to write up Superman, he would be a psychological cripple that was vulnerable to about everything. Oh no, Ronnie. Now I might later, you know, after this, but you know, now, cause see, I actually have other device over here charged up to where I can go live on my other channel anytime. It's not going to be my perfect sound quality, but yeah, I've got 2 other devices ready to where if anything's important after we're done here, then I can get to it. It's just on the devices that I have here right now are the ones that this channel is on. I did that on purpose. So once again, you know, if I feel the need to go live with Leticia or Reviewer later, which I might, you know, after we're done here, and then I'll charge these devices back up at the same time. But yeah, today is just to make a couple characters and let you guys know how it works. Now, as I say, everything here works under a formula. Now, one of your statistics is your dexterity. Now, this is how attacking works. I told you everyone has certain phases. So, as the phases go along, every character gets their turn. Now, to find out if you hit, you have a stat called OCV, which is your offensive. And you have a stat called DCV, which is your defensive. So, you basically take your offensive, your OCV, you look at the other character's DCV, and then you take the modification. Like, say, for example, your OCV is 7, which many of you will probably have an OCV of 7. If someone has a DCV of 5, like Ernie does, you get a +2 to hit. And on the 6-sided dice, low is better. And if you roll 3 ones, it's a double damage. Now, if you roll 3 6s, something bad comic book happens. You remember how, like, Spider-Man goes on his way and all those damn unfortunate things kept happening to him? Those were rolls of 3 6s. Hello, Kentucky. So, like I say, this is how it works. So, now typically you hit on an 11 or less. Now, once again, because you get a +2 on Ernie, that means you would hit him on a 13 or less. And then once he would be hit, you know, you have a stat called PD and ED, which is physical defense and energy defense. And then you put that against the damage, and then you find out what's done. Like I said, everything is done by simple formula that as we play this game, I will walk everyone through as we do it. So, you know, by the time you've played this for 3 or 4 months, like I said, you could create some characters on your own and play this at home with people that you hang out with. And create your own stupid universe. And, of course, consult me when you want to make something absolutely positively weird. Now, there's one character type that makes my fucking eyes bleed. You remember Mr. Fantastic and the stretching powers? Wow, those are hard. Like I say, remember I said, all the characters you want to meet are just absolutely easy. Stretching powers suck. They cost way too much, too. But like I said, you guys have picked some really good options, and it will flesh out. And once again, over time, you can get multiple characters because this is your fun. And binders like this, you know, like I've got some of your villains in here right now. You know, on top we've got Lightning Tiger, and then I've got my mob boss over here, and then under that we got Alfarius. Now, Alfarius is built on almost 400 points. So, in reality, any of you going one-on-one with Alfarius is probably going to be in trouble. But once again, if there's 2 or 3 of you, well, 2 of you, you'll probably beat him. And if there's 3 of you, you know, he's likely to stand little chance. But of course, he's got Grimgoth with him. So, you know, I have those 2 designed to fight 4 or 5 of you. And once again, because of that multi-very power pool that Grimgoth has, I mean, that was a pain in the butt. Now, those were developed in later versions of Champions, and that player I said that had the Lich, I mean, he used to fuck with it. Now, you can, as I said, you can die. Now, there are regular damage and there's killing damage, and it's called a killing attack. Now, this was one fucked up thing that he did with his multi-very power pool. I'm like, okay, what effect do you want? So I could figure out what power was attacking. He said, I want them just to fade away. And he rolled successful and rolled enough body damage on a transformation attack, and his opponent he hit literally just faded away. And that was the last anyone ever saw of that supervillain. And that was kind of a joke for us. Like, what happened to him? He just faded away. A pencil, a paper, and 3 6-sided dice. And Pindar has provided us with this wonderful cookie tin because I've been thinking on how to do this. And I'm going to set the camera up on this chair, and I'm going to set you guys to where you will view the dice rolls on top of the cookie tin. And we have these pretty dice right here. And if those don't show well enough, I have these. In fact, I think these are showing better. So these will probably be our dice. And dice fumble. And like I say, I'll roll them on the tin. And that way, and like I say, when our game sessions, you guys will basically be looking at the tin, you know, for the dice rolls. And, you know, I'll be sitting over here on the floor next to it with, you know, character sheets and everything sitting around me running the game. And like I say, you guys will be able to see the dice rolls as they happen. But like I said, it's real, and that's why we're picking this, because it's simple, easy, and fun. And once again, going through a live stream, you know, that's kind of a requisite. And like I say, eventually we're going to get into some hardcore D&D. But this is all going to be in my book universe. You know, our D&D game will be in my book universe. Now, after I finally got some food in me, I went out to the barn, and where I have my game board, I am going to turn it into a map for our D&D. You know, when we finally do start D&D, I am going to remember where everything goes by the wonderful thing of taking pictures. And I'm going to create a giant board map so when we play for D&D, you'll be able to travel all over the world. You know, I'll be able to, you guys will learn the map, and that will be entertaining. And I picked out counters to use for all this map, and in the next few months, I just kind of have to figure where I want to lay everything out at. Which is another reason why we're starting with this. You know, it's where everything's going to work perfect, and we're going to have some non-drama fun, and once again, some of our lolcows will accidentally be superheroes or supervillains, you know, depending on the lolcow. Now, you know, I'll tell you right now, one of your adventures is someone's going to, like, as a practice, you know, I don't want to put you in situations that are life or death in the beginning, so I want you to kind of learn the situation. So someone will be saving Rat from Melton. You know, Melton swore to kill us all. So, you know, that's going to be one of your small adventures in the beginning. Someone's going to stop Melton John from, you know, killing Rat, because, you know, once he gets Rat, he's going to kill Roger Brown. We can't have that. So, you know, we'll have fun. Now, another thing that was funny, in my long time campaign, after everyone was a experienced player, we wrote up ourselves. But no one was allowed to pick their own superpower. The group got to pick everyone else's power. And mine was luck. By the way, once again, no one got to pick their superpower. Your cuntish friends all got to pick your superpower. So that might be something like next year we might do, is I'll let everyone roll themselves up, but by then everyone will know everyone well. And once again, we'll do that. You're not allowed to pick your own power. Now, where I told you that a magic person is the pain in the ass to fight, a luck person is about the worst thing to fight in the game, because it's all indirect attacks that come at you from every angle, and it's absolutely absurd. Because once again, the laws of probability get completely broken because of the person with the luck powers. And those are also extraordinarily expensive. So that's why I'd usually use the magic pool for the luck powers. Now, does anyone have any questions before we try to make a character? Well, Smelly, they say I'm just answering questions right now, and I'm going to hit a ball here for a couple of times. So Yeah, Rachel. So, you kind of get the idea. Now, that character was Wildcard. And actually, it turned out that the power sets worked really well together. One guy had the power to teleport inanimate objects. Now, believe it or not, that ended up a really good ability because you ended up with a supervillain that could just touch what he wanted and teleport it back to base. And he could touch everything around it and drop it on you or put it in your way or some other annoying thing. He couldn't teleport himself. He couldn't teleport a living anything, but he could teleport inanimate objects by touch. And that ended up in amazing power. Now, Paul, he had the power to confuse people. If I really ever wanted to confuse someone, I would act like Paul, and it would work really well. So, he had a mental power that could make people into a stuporous state. And he was Bedlam. So, like I say, no one was allowed to pick their own power. Because Paul always talked about the most confusing ass shit. So that was his power. And Dana had light fingers, so his power ended up to teleport inanimate objects. And Troy couldn't sit in a chair without breaking it. So he ended up with density increase in our brick. And then our last one, we ended up having that one. People kept coming in and out, and we ended up having a few characters coming in and out. Hello, child. But, this is just some interesting thing. And like I say, we're going to have our own original universe. Now, occasionally, I could do a crossover event. Like, say, example, when they come out with the next Avengers movie. I can write up whatever version of the Avengers they come out with. And once again, you could cross universes to fight the Avengers. Because one thing is dimensional travel. Now, anyone with magical powers, and like the multi-very power pole, like Grimgoth. Grimgoth, with his magic and his points, he can easily travel time and dimensions. So, you're kind of getting, the theme. And as I said, in this, you really do get your character customized right what do you want. It's like Wolverine has no code versus killing. And that's a 20-point psychological on Wolverine. Now, we also know he's abrasive. That's another 20 points. Now, because he has 2 and he's going for 3, he tends to be violent. That would be another 15 points for him. So this is a way you can take aspects of your character and once again pay for them. Hello, Loki. So, I think that's kind of... Well, Callie, you'll get it over time. Like I say, we're just here to start slow, and that's why I said it's going to take weeks to get everything together. But, since usually what I used to do is I would have one veteran player, and he would kill, when I would be running the game, he would be catching everyone up. But since I don't have a veteran player, we'll just take this one baby step at a time, and, within a month, we'll be having regular games every Sunday, and probably Wednesday too, because there seems to be about twice as much interest as I thought. And another interesting thing, this way, with more interest, there can be 2 superhero groups. And once again, with players coming in and out, it would be those 2 groups or pieces of them occasionally teaming up. And as superheroes, you can occasionally even fight each other, because that is a typical thing in the superhero genre, is the accidental fights, because everyone is mistaking someone. Okay, Smelly. Which, we're going to play a game called Champions. The superhero role-playing game. I don't have the main book over here, but, This is a book of some of the enemies they made up, and this is to where you can play superheroes in World War II. And once again, I have all the rules memorized, so, I meant to have the main book up here, but I guess I didn't sit it out. Making sure my devices over here are charged, and yes, they are. So, after we're done here, and I can get something cool to drink, I might go live on the other channel. It depends on who's live. Well, Rachel, another thing that I did say, you and I can have solo games. And where I said that it's good to have someone that's ahead of the curve, and that's why I say that, is because, if you and I want to at any time, we can just come on here and you can have a solo adventure or two, and the same with Smelly. Because I know that some of you guys and me keep odd hours, and those are times where you can get some solo game time in. And this way, we're all not having to worry about drama. This is a place for fun. Now, we're going to talk about another one of my characters that I'll probably work in at some point after you guys, get about 100 points on you. After you get about 20, 25 adventures under your belt. I'll work in another one of my book characters. And it's from the series that wasn't. And it's all planned out. But I really don't think it's too much like Warhammer 40K, and I created it before Warhammer 40K. So I will be adding some of my book characters and some of the characters that I created. And like I said, I started with Alfarius, and at some point I could even add Verily Veronica, because, people have to have dependent NPCs. So, as I mentioned, you can, I'm just kind of giving you some time to think about your characters. That's why I'm not rushing into character development. Now, you have 14 statistics. 8 of them, and then 6 of them. And the last 6 are figured characteristics. And like I say, we'll get into those here in a little bit. Strength, dexterity, constitution, body, intelligence, ego, presence, comeliness. PD, ED, which is physical and energy defense. Speed, recovery, end, which is endurance, and stun. And end, you spend end for your powers. Like, for example, Rachel is going to shoot a 8x6 energy blast. That will cost her 8 endurance points. And that comes off her end statistic. Because you can wear your character out. It's like Spider-Man, one of his tactics is he keeps dodging and he wears out his opponent. When he fights the real big, tough, strong guys. You've seen Spider-Man dodge and, the guy can hardly stand up because at some point after he uses up all his end, he starts using stun as end. And, that's a typical Spider-Man theme. Spider-Man many times will fight your opponent without hitting your opponent. Well, I do, Ronnie, now and again. It's just, I'm now getting into the habit of coming back to this. And this channel is only on my old burner phone that I normally stream on in the tablet. It's not on the iPhone or the other crap phone that I lost my service on. And this is all charged up, and the iPhone's all charged up. So like I said, right now, I could go live on this channel. In fact, I could have went live on the other channel and let other people see this. It's just, this is our special spot. This is for our fun and to get away from it all. Now, I will love one day to have 500 subscribers here so I can put all the stuff that I want on the community tab here. Now I'm going to have to lose my shirt because it's just absolutely getting too hot, and we have got a friend, Chilla. Yes, Super Chilla. Oh, and it's a hot kitty. Well, yes, Ronnie, this place is going to be for fun. And as I said, over time, now, I didn't plan on having to make two super groups, but I think with the way it looks like is I will. And like I say, I'll run them on different days probably. And then once again, people have lives. Everyone won't be here for every session. So, that will be special in itself because it'll change things around a little bit. Because that's how it used to be when I played. There'd be many people that couldn't make it because, life always comes first. This is just here. And once again, if you were in the middle of an adventure and something happens, is the guy running the game, I will find an excuse on, why your character can't participate. Just saying. So, that's what I'm saying is, if you have something come up in life, do not feel pressured that you have to be here. Because you don't, because I can always come up with some, because comic book universes. Weird shit happens. So once again, this channel was always meant to be a small channel. This was always meant to be an intimate channel to where a bunch of us get together and we game, we talk about stories, and I tell you stories, which we're going to be getting more in the future. It's just, there was a lot of interest in Champions, and I like to get it together kind of quickly as I can. And I'm getting ready to get gotten by Cat Girl. What is it, Cat Girl? Ow! Please stop putting the claws in me, for God's sake. My sweetie. She's sleepy. And she wants me to hold her. And I'm hot already. You already see me have to lose the shirt. Because I only lose the shirt when I have to lose the shirt. And right at the moment I felt the need. And now I got giant hot kitty girl on me. Well, honey. Honey, sweetie. Baby. Because I love you now. Well, I guess we're going to have a kitty moment. Now, when I used to game, this was always a problem. The kitty trying to come in and take over everything. It does tend to happen. Super Chella. Chella got her cat-like powers of stupid. I love you, sweetie. Hello, Stitches. Yeah, see, this is always a problem with the kitty. We only get a couple hours with this at a time, honey. So, where I normally love to display you on YouTube and all, but on this channel, it's kind of, we got to get into more business than kitty love. She said, I don't care. She wants me to hold her like she's got no bones. And I'm not playing the game right. All right. I'll hold you like you've got no bones. Meow, 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 meow. There you go. Here you go. You got no bones now. Is this what you want? You can grab my face. You can grab my face. You got no bones. Well, hold on my face because you ain't got no bones. Yeah, like a kitty aggro. And you see, this is what she wanted. She's going to stomp into me till I hold her and she has no bones. This was funny the first 1,000 times. Yep, it was cute the first 1,000 times. And I'm sure it's still cute for you because it's not been past 1,000. But it's like, can you please support the structure of your own body some to where I can do something? When I have to do housework, this is like this a lot. We have this conversation. It's like, can you support your physical form to where I can do some dishes? And what's worse, she's got hair in my nose. So she wants me to hold her with both hands and get... Now see, that is a no normal defense attack in Champions. Yes, the nose and the hair, and I think it was a 1d6. I think I took 1d6 stun from some kitty here that I think is still in my nose. Now, another power in Champions is Entangle. Now, I'm just telling this as a silly thing, but like a cat person, you know, if a cat person was to shed in someone's face, you know, it could be a very weak Entangle attack and only take seconds to get out of, but it could definitely delay a person. Couldn't it, honey? Honey. Sweetie. Okay, now, my next session for this, I'm going to shut the door. And you're not going to be allowed in here. And you're going to cry at the door like a little baby. And you're going to whine, you're going to cry. And you're going to cry, and you're going to whine. Yes, you are. And you're going to go, let me in. Oh, shit. I thought you were moving. Don't you have someplace to be? Says, yep, right here. I'm already hot. Just saying. Here, let me sit in your lap and help you with that being hot. Oh, man. Laugh at me. Oh. Kitty? Sweetie? I don't know what to do with you. Seriously. I mean, you should see it from my view. She keeps looking like, it's all excited. Like it's a kid with Christmas. She's not been coming and hanging with me. Now she's eating me up. Well, I might be writing your characters up for you. Because I can do it in a few minutes on the side. I just have to go over something. Now, Rachel, what kind of things would you like your character to be able to do with light? Do you want to fly? Because because like I say, your character's pretty simple, but I will have to know some basic things. Is your light character going to be a flyer? Now, your disadvantages, I'm going to come up those with you, everyone, later on. But your powers, I will write up everyone's myself, you know, off screen because this kitty's hated my ass. And as soon as I start to try to write right now, she's just going to start grabbing at me. And like I say, for all further sessions, we're going to be shutting the door, and my little girl's going to cry outside. You hear that, little girl? She better get used to it because right now you're banned from the Thanatos channel. You see how much she cares? Yes, you're going to be banned from the channel. Yes, you are. You're going to be banned from the channel. Might bring in for a special appearance for a moment or two. Now, you can do... Now, this thing is when I do my live later, I'd be fine if she's doing this. But, you know, now it's when... Well, Rachel, you will start off, you know, fairly what we consider, you know, a lower powered hero. And, you know, but there is a big difference when you add 100 points. In Champions, you know, you get about 20, 25 adventures under your belt. All of a sudden, that character can do a whole lot more. Now, the longest player in my campaign, his superhero was Captain Steel. And he started off like yours as a 250-point character. And by the time before I moved, he could probably go toe-to-toe with Superman and have a pretty good chance of winning. Well, it does. Like, say, for 30 points, you can move at 15 feet a second, flying. And that costs 3 endurance every turn. So, you know, it does actually cost you energy. Now, once again, you can buy your powers at reduced end cost. You can also buy them at zero cost, but that makes the power cost a lot more. Now, you can also buy an endurance battery. So, like, you say your character absorbs light from the sun, and that's how you replenish your endurance battery. And that way, rather than just running off your statistic, you would have a pool of points on your powers over here and be able to use them. Like, say, for 10 points, you would get 100 spare endurance that you could use for your light powers. You know, that way you, like where we were saying before, like when Spider-Man wearing people out, that way you wouldn't quickly wear yourself out. Now, another interesting thing, like you, remember how I said when you get a lot of points later, we could give you like an intangibility power of turning into light? Well, that also, there is a power called faster than light travel. And because you're going to be a light person, if you choose to be a flyer, you know, later on and get this power to transform, you know, you could get like full life support because you can turn into light. And you would be able to go to the bottom of the deepest ocean or the darkest of space. And once again, for like 10 extra points, you can add faster than light. And like I explained that you could move 15 feet, you know, a second. Well, that 15 would turn into light years. So your character could travel 15 light years in a year. Well, yes, in a way, if you wanted to. Like I say, that's one reason why I'm just not hurrying through this, because I want you to understand is whatever you want in your mind, we can create. And once again, your idiosyncrasies that you want in your character, we can use to pay for it. And that's where this is the interesting system, because you create your character with no dice. Well, that's cool, Pindar. Pindar, what did you want your powers to be? Yours has slipped my mind. Because I'm going to make everybody's powers up myself, and then you guys are going to help me do the disadvantages on our next session, or I'm going to get with you one-on-one and do them. Like Rachel, I'll DM you on Instagram, and we'll talk about your character. And the same with Pindar. And over time, I'm going to do that with every character that wants to. And I think Smelly's on Twitter, so I'll have to message her, but all three of you are in my DMs already. Okay. Now, okay, so you might end up the tank, Pindar. Now, another power is Drains, where you're talking about a healer with a tank ability. Now, that is another possibility. You know, you can transfer points. You remember how Rogue would steal people's powers? That is also possible. But that also is one of these huge cost point things. You know, that's something that you wouldn't be able to easily, you couldn't really do it well at all off a 250 point character. But, you know, you can actually, you know, like I say, you can come up with some sort of power absorption. Or you could just have super strength. It's however you want it. But where you were talking, okay, just a typical, okay, a battle cleric, okay. Well, do you want to be of Earth, or do you want to be from another dimension? Because, see, this is a part of character creation, because when you come up with your origin, I'll come up with background villains specifically for you. Take care, Callie. Okay. Well, that's simple to do. But you have to figure out, are you of Earth, or are you not of Earth? Now, you can be of Earth and, you know, some sort of holy being or spiritual power, or, you know, you opened up great granddaddy's crypt and you found your suit and stuff. You never. I can do that. Look at that. But offhand, I don't think you're of Earth. Just saying. Now, you could be. Because you see, in my book universe, I have Lemuria. Now, my book universe starts out in my book time with 9 continents. So during my book universe, between then and now, we lose 2 continents. And one of them is Lemuria with lizard people, and one of them is Atlantis. Okay. So then it'll just be a parallel dimension. Because I also have another supplement here called Champions in 3D. And it has rules for dimension hopping. So we will probably make you from some sort of parallel to Earth dimension. Because in 1/3 of the Earth dimensions and the thing, they're going to be not humans. Some other life form, like a lizard. Now, have to think a little bit. Now, see, that'll be good because that'll also work into me. Because, once again, Smelly is going to be not human, and you're, well, not fully human, and you're not going to be human. Once again, I've already had a player play a reptilian character, so, I have some interesting thoughts on that you haven't thought of. Well, that they do. I mean, oh, God. I still got that hair in my nose, by the way, everyone. It was a special attack. But yes, the hard part always is your super name. So that's what I need everyone to come up with. So we have our extra dimensional warrior cleric. We have our reclusive Catwoman. Hello, Starbright. Nope, that's the thing about your character. They're wherever you want them to be. See, that's the wonderful thing about this, is about this game system, is because you tailor it to just what the player wants. It's just you have to live within your power statistics. Now, my other game, I started people off with 100 more points because I had veteran players. But since we don't have veteran players, and so you get yourselves in less trouble with power level, that's why we're going to start off with the original recommended 250 point cat. And secret identity is worth 15 points. Public identity is only worth 10. But that's another thing too. If you have well, once again, if you're a lizard person, now you could even have a secret identity as a lizard person and a cat person. But there's going to have to be some sort of magic or hologram involved. Now, once again, you guys will probably have public identities, where Rachel will have a secret identity. She's just a lady with light powers. Nicolina, of course, with, her abilities, she will probably be just your typical human being. So, and once again, there's not going to be a ton of superheroes and villains in our universe starting off. But they will develop as we go on. And many of them will be tailored specifically to you and for some fun. Well, stealth, concealment, that sort of thing. Now, an interesting power that I gave Rachel's nemesis, Darkheart, she can teleport from shadow. So if there's darkness, she can teleport from dark spot to dark spot to dark spot. But she can only teleport into dark places. So once again, to stop her from doing that, all you got to do is make sure there's light everywhere. And then Darkheart can't teleport anymore. Now, another thing like you, Rachel, you could, by teleport, is moving fast as light. Remember how we said, at some point you could buy yourself the intangible light form? And you could actually create that into a teleport movement. As well as having a flight. Your character in itself is set up to be like the ultimate transport person. For yourself, anyway. Once again, like I say, you can buy faster than light travel. Excuse me. You can also buy full life support by using the light form. Like normally, full life support's 30 points. But you can say full life support in light form only, and then it would only cost 15 points. It would be half. So this is a way in this system to where we create these perfect what you want characters. And that's why we're not running at it right now, is because I want you guys to think about your characters. Now, Pindar's, I'll have to talk back and forth with her on that one. But, the typical cat thing is Smelly, really easy. And so is the light powers. It's just, I'll have to tailor your disadvantages with you. And it will be fun. And like I say, my original 4 players, and I'm glad Nicolina wants to play. I kind of picked that Saturday night because I figured that would be a time that she would be streaming, and and I wouldn't need to be streaming. So I'm glad that she wants to play with us, and it'll be very interesting because once again with her powers, that will add a lot of role play. With her emotional manipulation, that will be fun. Okay, well, I'm not going to, put you down on that right now, but when I write it out, when we're done with the character, I'm going to ask you what you want on the top of the sheet. And that's when it sticks. Actually, it don't have to stick, but really thinking about it, but... Oh, man. I was just checking my notifications to see if it was important. Like Ernie running on the highway, needing to be ran over. Hello, Christy. How long have we been here? Now, we're going to go in about another 20 minutes because we'll be running a little bit lower on power here. And then I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to go live on my other channel. Well, yes, because that's why, there's no need to be in any real hurry. But, fortunately, you guys have picked some really easy stuff to do. Now, that's the fortunate thing is once you know the system, most things are easy. But like I said, those stretching powers, because I have to buy linked, for every one of the powers, and it's all mathematical formulas. And most of them are very easy. But like I said, to create the stretching people, oh God, I hate it. And as we create that, you'll see, like I said, all the powers, I have to link them slowly all together, and, and then like their entangle attack, I have to give them the disadvantage on it of takes damage from their own entangle, and that's another pain in the butt formula. So like I said, and in reality, up to this point before this is like, please, no one want a stretching person. Please, and that, that was kind of all my only thought coming into this. Anything else other than the stretching person, because once again, they take so many points, for 250 points, you're like, this ain't no fun. Now, I hope you're well, Christine. But yes, this is going to be fun for us. Now, the thing is, too, is you're going to have your own culture. So, in reality, because it's another dimension, the sky's the limit. Seriously. Remember, Superman and Krypton? Like I said, with your imagination, the sky is a limit because you're not on Earth. In fact, your world will also be an adventure place. So in your story, we will also create adventures off of your stories. So I kind of think that kind of gives everyone an overview of what we're going to be doing. And like I said, your characters are very simple, and I could write them up now, but it wouldn't be, it would waste time, really. I can do that while I'm sitting there listening to chats. And, my first 4 that we're going to write up, I have you all on DM. So, if I DM you pretty soon, it's probably going to be about your character. Well, I'm doing good. Now, once again, we'll have our own campaign city. Now, my initial thought was, now Rachel had an idea, but my initial thought was calling it Champion City. My initial thought. Because, once again, you guys in a week are going to think, what was that game's name that we're playing? You know, because that's natural to do. So that was kind of my first thought. But in reality, we will make the campaign city what you guys want. And once again, gives us time to think on it. But remember, make something we can remember. That'll be the whole thing. Okay, well that'll work. We'll go with that then. Because once again, you know, this is an experience where you guys will learn the game. And because it's 3 6-sided base. Now, as an example, like for 50 points, you buy what's called a multi-power. Now, you buy what's called multi-power slots. So it's like, say, over here, Rachel will have a multi-power. And your multi-power will have slots. And you can use one of your light powers at a time. So, you know, once again, if you want to shoot your light blast, you're shooting your light blast. Now, and that will only cost like 5 points for your light blast as a part of the multi-power. Now, if you want to shoot a killing attack, you can do that too. And you'll get that power for 5 points. And it's part of what's called a package deal. Now, that is a multi-power. You can use one power at a time. Now, there's also a much more expensive way to do this. And because we're starting off smaller, we're not going to do any of our characters like this for now. Called elemental control. And those you can use all of your powers at the same time. Where with a multi-power it's cheaper and you can only use one of these at a time. With an elemental control, you could use all of them. So, you know, that's where you get that super villain that can blast 6 or 7 people at once. You know, he's going to be typically using an elemental control. Now, your character over time could turn his multi-power into an elemental control. And, you know, get much to where they could use all of their powers. Like, say, Rachel, you know, after we play a year or two, and she wants to re-overhaul her character, she could take her 200 and some experience points and revamp the character. And, you know, then you have this rewritten 450 point character, and then she's one of the mightiest superheroes on Earth. You know, she's, well, in reality, they did Avengers kind of fucked up. But what you would think of it as an Avengers level character would be in the 450s. Now, your Falcon or your Black Widow, or even your Captain America, they're right at the level that you guys are going to be starting at in power. You know, oddly enough, or a beginning Spider-Man. You know, you'll be fairly parallel to, you know, Spider-Man early in his career in strength as a hero. So, okay, we'll have Champion City, and then I'll have to come up with your NPCs like the mayor, you know, your police chief, and those other individuals you'll be interacting with. And once again, depending on some of your origins, you know, I'm going to make up things depending, like for example, Smelly Cat will have to figure out how they got their powers. Pindar's easy. I'm from another parallel dimension to Earth. I'm from another universe. I mean, yours is really easy. But yes, Nicolina, Rachel, they'll have to figure out how they got your powers. So, you know, you got the easy way out. And Smelly Cat will have to tell me how she got her powers. Now, the old way out was, I'm a mutant. I mean, that is the lazy way out. Now, unfortunately, being a mutant, you immediately get mutant hunters as a disadvantage. But I mean, just to let you know, mutant is always the easy way out. And I'm basically, I'm going to add mutants as a thing when someone wants to be a mutant. And so in reality, that is going to likely be Smelly's origin, but it's all up to her. You know, if she wanted to be a veterinarian that was taking care of kitties and, you know, she was testing an experimental vaccine and she got bit by a radioactive kitten. You know, that can happen. Now, offhand, you know, I'm starting to kind of like the radioactive kitten idea. Now, another thing about Champions, it's only as serious as we want it to be. So your character can be serious, and someone else can have something silly. You know, like, I got my powers from being bitten by a radioactive kitten. Now, see, that's another thing, Pindar, is, you know, as I said, I may make some lolcow supervillains, and Leticia will probably be Ice Woman. Remember how she froze the puppies? Like I said, Leticia will probably have cold powers. I mean, she's a cold-ass bitch. Where Ernie's going to be a scammer. You know, like I say, I can add Leticia supervillain. And that'll be a part of her fun. You know, give you those moments when, you know, you pull off the mask and, oh my God, it's a curly-haired Peppermint Patty! Well, like I say, as I wrote up Lightning Tiger, he's like 85 points going to be weaker than you. He's just basically there to be an annoyance. Now, another interesting thing in Champions, and they did this. Now, everything is ripped off from somewhere else. Now, Deadpool is very popular. And they ripped an essence thing of Deadpool off of Champions. There is a Champions original supervillain called Foxbat. And he is crazy. His name was Freddy Foswell. And he was a rich person. And he always wanted to be a superhero. So he trained like Batman for his fantasy. And then one day he lost everything. And then he decided to become the supervillain Foxbat. Now, Freddy is insane. Very insane. And Freddy believes that his life is an actual comic book. So this supervillain in regular Champions will go around like Deadpool narrating everything. And this is where they stole that from. Because this character is over 40 years old. Deadpool was never even thought of when Foxbat was created. Now, everyone in the game, of course, you know, thought Foxbat was insane. But of course, like Deadpool, Foxbat was always breaking the fourth wall. Well, Pindar, we're going to get off here in about 15 minutes. And then I'm going to get me something to drink. And then I'm going to go live later on the other channel if no one else is. And then I will talk some Jimbo or some Leticia. I planned on Jimbo for tomorrow, but I have everything here. I feel good. I feel awake. It's just a little warm in here. I'm going to open the house door to help it cool off. Starbright, it is a role-playing game. It's just character sheets and dice. And your imagination. And I will run you through adventures that are here. And like I say, you can watch. And I'm going to start 2 groups on 2 different days because there seems to be enough for it. But we're getting our first one together. And it will be fun. And then everybody else can, you know, kind of get the idea of what's going on from the first group. And like I say, I'll eventually try to get it to where everyone that wants to play can. And she's knocked half everything off the table. So after the live, I'll have to clean up. And now she's on the shelf with her mother. So yes, we're like almost 2 hours in. And that's about how we're going to be running them, is 2-hour adventures. Oh yeah, I'll have to pick up in here. It needed it a little bit anyway. And now it needs it a lot. Because she just, where I had dinner and all that, my tray and everything just went right in the floor. Thanks. So, you know, I'll clean that up before I go live. That'll take another 15 minutes, you know, in my gap time. But yes, Rachel, I'll DM you and I'll DM Pendar and all of that tomorrow. Now, tonight while I'm sitting and watching lives, I'll go ahead and write up the basic things on most of your characters. Well, Richella, she's a bull in a china shop. Cat has no respect. I mean, absolutely. Neither does Summer. Now, the others, they're pretty respectful. But Summer's not. I'm wondering if she might be in heat. Well, everyone, I'm going to get off here right now. I was going to talk for about 10 more minutes. But if Summer's in heat, I've got to put her up. So, I think that's what I better do right now as the responsible adult. So, I will message you guys very soon, definitely tomorrow. And we'll come up with some of your psychological disadvantages. Now, everyone, thank you for coming, and we'll, next Sunday we might actually get into gameplay. Actually, thinking about it, yeah, next Sunday expect to get into our first gameplay. And we'll walk it through as a tutorial gameplay. And I'll be on my other channel later. I got a mess to clean up. And I'll see you soon. And thank you for coming.